Hello, my name is Mary Claire Flores. I am 25 years old, originally from Chicago, Illinois, in the United States, and I was teaching English in Ciudad Mexico, which is Mexico City in Mexico, for about 9 months, and I had been living there for almost a year, and I just got back. I just got back to Chicago. So I took the TEFL on-site course in Chicago, Illinois, so it was quite convenient, with International TEFL Academy, and before going to Mexico City, I was a general educator at a public school in Chicago and a City Year AmeriCorps alumna. So I am a U.S. citizen. I'm hoping to become a dual citizen with Mexico soon because my father is Mexican. I received my bachelor's degree from DePaul University in Greencastle, Indiana. I received it in a major that I created called Youth and Social Justice, which is a combination of courses from the psychology departments, education, and sociology departments. That was my bachelor's degree, and I will be receiving my master's degree at the end of spring 2018 in education, so it's coming up. I hadn't really traveled before this experience, since before going to Mexico, I really hadn't traveled much, not for a long period of time at least. The longest I had traveled before this was for almost a month, and I was in India with my best friends who lived there. And before that, I'd gone to Canada for a choir trip for a couple of days. I had gone to Uganda for 10 days for research. But other than that, I really haven't traveled much. I don't know much of the United States. In fact, I don't know a lot of states. So I definitely never traveled alone. I had gone to those places with people who lived there, who currently lived there, who had contacts there. I was never alone, and it was all very well planned, and it wasn't for a long period of time. So when I decided to go to Mexico, it was obviously a little bit of a shock to people, and it was definitely going to be a new experience, but I knew I wanted to do it. I knew I wanted to live in Mexico for a little bit, and I knew the best way to do that was to go teaching English because I felt that's what I was most qualified for. I'm an educator, and so what would I be doing in Mexico to make money to live? Obviously be teaching, and English was the best thing for me to teach at the time. I just knew I needed a way to do that. And I needed resources and I needed help, and that's where International TEFL Academy came in. So I chose International TEFL Academy because I needed somewhere that was reputable. I needed somewhere that I could trust, that was the best of the best, and I definitely see that as International TEFL Academy. I looked and I researched for other programs, and it kind of seemed like scams. I didn't really feel like I could trust them. I wanted to make sure it was accredited, and I wanted to make sure I was getting the best education possible. And I found out through International TEFL Academy, and I still believe that at the time that's exactly what I needed. I'm very impressed by the education, the quality of the education, what we were learning about, making sure it was student-centered, lesson planning, actually teaching with real students. That was all extremely valuable, and I really appreciate it. So I'm so glad I picked International TEFL Academy. That worked out really well. And I used it quite a bit. I would definitely say that it was an accurate representation. It was great preparation. I definitely used what I learned in the classroom, in my own classrooms in Mexico City. The experience was invaluable, and I slept well knowing that I had the resources and the support I needed through the program. Some of the people I worked with and the staff were absolutely excellent, and I definitely wouldn't have been able to do what I did without International TEFL Academy and the education I received there. I went to Mexico with the Fulbright Grant, which is a program between the Mexican and American government. And I don't think I would have received that grant had I not had the certification through International TEFL Academy. I think that absolutely helped, and it helped me feel more confident in my teaching abilities, which absolutely was shining through during my interviews. And as I talked to my employers and the university at which I worked in Ciudad Mexico, so I definitely used literally the information I learned, the general attitudes I learned during the program, the confidence, the resources I was given, and I definitely benefited from the experience of my program at International TEFL Academy. I chose Mexico in general because of many reasons, personal and professional and practical. I am the daughter of a Mexican, and when he came to the United States, he chose not to teach my siblings and I Spanish. And that was really difficult growing up with a Mexican name, being Mexican, and not speaking the language, not being able to communicate with some of my family members even. And so I really wanted, as an adult, to learn more about the culture, to learn about the many cultures, learn about the Spanish language, try to be a better family member, but also be a better teacher. As an educator, the majority of my students are, and at the time were, Mexicans, and sons and daughters of Mexicans. So in order to communicate with their family members, to their grandparents, their parents, their caretakers, a lot of it was in Spanish, and I found it very important to speak to these parents and these caretakers to be the most effective teacher possible, so that we could work together for the benefit of the student. However, if I wasn't able to communicate, how could I best assist this child, this student? And I realized that as I was communicating, my Spanish was not sufficient enough. I was making too many mistakes. I had trouble communicating the ideas I wanted to communicate, and I was just generally in a sloppy way. And one day, a parent, in her broken English, asked if I would prefer to speak in English, and I felt terrible. I thought, I should be able to communicate with you. I should be able to do this in Spanish. And right then I decided, I'm going to Mexico. I have to go to Mexico. I can't do this anymore. I need to become semi-fluent. I need to become better in Spanish so that I can communicate and be an effective teacher and also family member. So I went for my job, for my family, for my communities here, and to just have the ability to communicate with people all over the world. So I wanted to learn about the many diverse cultures in Mexico, wanted to learn one of the languages of Mexico, and I want to learn more about my family and my history. I have so many cousins, uncles, and aunts, and so much family in Mexico that I didn't even know existed. And now I know them, so it was a lovely experience, and I'm so grateful that I was able to go to learn about my family, my history, my language, my culture, and be able to become a better teacher in the process. I had a wonderful experience at my university. I was at Escuela Nacional para Maestras de Jardines de Niños, and this was a university, a teaching university. So it was for people who wanted to become preschool teachers. And that was the entire university. All wanted to become preschool teachers. And luckily, I had experience being a preschool teacher. So we had a lot in common. And I was teaching them English. And because I was a native speaker and the only one in the entire university, I was in every single classroom, with every single group in the entire university. So I had every class, and just for a little bit. And so it was a lot of running around. It was a lot of work, but a really enjoyable experience, and I loved meeting all of them. Unfortunately, I couldn't remember all of their names because I had a little over 500 students, but we definitely could still make connections. I could still learn about their lives, and I definitely wanted to hear about that. So it was a lot of work. It was a lot of running around. But everyone was very warm and friendly and helpful and understanding, and for that I'm very grateful. When I did move down there, and I stayed with my family at first for my first month. You can stay in an Airbnb, you can stay in a hostel, you have to do whatever you want to do. It's probably the best idea to do one of those things first so that you can find an apartment or whatever you're seeking when you're on the ground, when you're in Mexico, because that makes it a whole lot easier. I'm sure there are online resources. I'm sure there are Facebook groups or things like that. But I think it is the most effective way to be on the ground and look for rent signs in the neighborhood in which you want to live. That's what I hear from my family. That's what I hear from my friends. That's my experience. When I was looking for somewhere to live, I found a neighborhood that I enjoyed, I really liked. I walked around that neighborhood with a friend and I just looked for all those rent signs and I called the numbers. And you want to go and you want to call, you want to have conversations, you want to go to the place. I actually found my apartment through a friend of a friend. So at first I started doing that, and luckily a friend of her friend said she had a room open, and I jumped on it and I went there and I looked at the room. I was lucky enough to have a bathroom. It was 4 stops away from my work, which is unbelievable. And so I was very fortunate. I said, I'll take it right now. Great roommates. And so it worked out really well for me. We shared a kitchen. And then I had 3 other roommates, but 2 other rooms because there was a couple. And it worked out very nicely. So I definitely would suggest being there in person, and it really helps a lot. So my most memorable experience living abroad was not surprisingly going to those big, beautiful ruins. There are so many ruins in Mexico. There are lovely beaches. There are lovely places to hike. And although those were fabulous experiences, and I highly recommend them, my favorite memories are the mundane things. Feeling like a local, going on the bus, having it be really crowded. Maybe not that part, but walking to the bus, feeling like I feel very comfortable in this country, that it's now my home. And I just remember at one moment walking on my way to work with everyone else on their way to work and feeling just very comfortable and happy that this was my normal everyday morning. So that was really nice. And then also another one was just being in a pueblito, which is a small town, and just beautiful, colorful houses and buildings. And I needed to go somewhere, so I jumped on a bus and I knew what to do. I handed the man 5 pesos and I made sure he was going in the right direction. And I sat down and I felt very confident doing this, even in a pueblito that I didn't know, and in a town that I didn't really know. I knew exactly what to do, and this was at the end of my year. And I loved that feeling of being in a beautiful place, not exactly knowing what I was doing, but feeling confident enough with my abilities, with my knowledge of, I did my research and my experience to be able to do that, jump on a bus and go. But definitely my favorite memories are the mundane ones, the feelings. Of course there are many beautiful places, but who can top being at a friend's house and just talking with some chelas, which are some beers, or just having a good time with people, making friends and building community. That is what it's all about. So that was really lovely. I loved the little things. And so if I were to give you advice, if you're coming to this wonderful country of Mexico, welcome, enjoy all the warm, warm people, find joy and disfruta the moments, enjoy the little moments. Even if they're some of your most frustrating moments, consider them little adventures, just a learning process. Do your best to stay positive. Hopefully you'll laugh about it later. You'll make a lot of mistakes, especially in the language, and that's okay. I've made so many mistakes, sometimes inappropriate ones that I really didn't realize as an educator. That can be very embarrassing, but just on the streets, whatever. Laugh at your mistakes. Laugh. You're learning. There's no reason to have shame. You're learning a language that's beautiful. If you're not learning the language and you just make mistakes or get lost, try to enjoy those little adventures as well. Talk to people. Ask them questions, ask tons of questions. You'll need to ask questions. I don't know how you could survive in Mexico without asking questions. You need to ask questions, and take the opportunity to learn about people, to learn about the community in which you are, and to learn about that lifestyle. You'll learn a lot by asking questions. You'll meet a lot of people, and it'll be an experience. It'll be a really, really good experience. So enjoy those mistakes, enjoy those adventures. It's okay if your Spanish is different, especially if you learned it in a different country, if you learned it from a teacher from a different country, even if you learned it in the United States. Some words are going to be different, but you'll figure it out. You'll learn that slang in no time. So really enjoy that. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that you get to experience this for the first time, because that is priceless and a really great experience. So enjoy, welcome, And just remember to enjoy every little moment that you have there. Mexico is wonderful, beautiful, and warm. Take care. Cuídate.